Hello, this is Randy Ripke. I'm the owner of Accurate Messages and the developer of TASbiller Cloud. This is another video in the series Keep It Simple series, and we'll be talking about how Accurate Messages uses the Startel hosted system to keep it simple. We are looking at the Startel admin controls for client maintenance, and we're currently on the General Settings tab. And this is the first tab that comes up when you go into client maintenance. And it's basically just the client's name and their call forwarding number and their billing account number and what time zone they're in, that kind of just general stuff. It also has the answer phrase, and if you notice, mine's pushed over a little bit. And if we click over here and scroll across, you can see that the answer script the agent's going to see will say, "Thank you for calling Randy's test account. This will insert the agent's first name and how may I help you." So it's also important to note that I'm on FlexAI. So let's see how this looks on FlexAI. We'll bring up account 9000. And there's my answer script. "Thank you for calling Randy's test account," and it's centered. I like to keep that front and center in front of the agent. Along the left-hand side is the MasterCard, which we'll be discussing next. And on the right-hand side, we're seeing the on-call schedule. Now I'm going to close this back out and go back into the client maintenance for a while here. The goal of this video is to discuss scripting, but it's very important to know some background on my setup and kind of why I'm doing the way I'm doing things. So starting here with client settings, you can see how that is set up, again, to support the FlexAI. Client info I do not use. Some people use this, and if you do, that's fine. I don't use it. What I do use are members, and every member has an office member. And the office member has the office phone number and the office email address. I just find it easier to keep all this stuff in one place. This is generally used for contact information, and so I want the operator to go to the member listing even when contacting the office or other members of the client. Now we're going to skip down to the options settings, and these are the options I have set up. So I have auto script dispatch on save. So if you're going to be using the automatic features of the scripting, which you want to do, you want to have that check mark, that box checked. We also do a spell check on save, and when a fresh call comes in, the message form automatically displays. Moving along, before we get to MasterCards, I want to show you field variables. I set these up because when I laid out my MasterCard, there were certain fields I wanted to appear in certain locations on the MasterCard that weren't available to me in client info, which is why I didn't use client info. So instead, I have field variables, and these are very easy to add. You just, the standard thing, just click on the add button and put in the name you want it to be and the value. And I chose all of these. Now we're not using all of these. I set these up originally thinking I might use them at some point. Most of them we're using are just the top ones up here. The client's address, their office number, fax number, their office hours, the time of day, and the delivery method by which they get their daily message summaries, most do, which time zone they're in, and their call forwarding number. And these all appear in specific locations on the MasterCard, and it's very consistent. So my agents always know where to go to look for these things. And again, most of this information never changes. The only thing that does change sometimes are the office hours. Pretty much everything else remains the same. They don't move, their forwarding number doesn't change, that sort of thing. Now moving on to MasterCards, and I'm assuming basic familiarity with the Startel system. I'm not teaching you step by step how to make a MasterCard, but I'm just going to kind of show you how I have mine laid out. And I have on my MasterCards, I have 3 pages on all of them. Some have a fourth for emergencies, where it details what an emergency is, especially in real estate and property management. They get particular about what should be called out to the on-call maintenance tech after hours. So I might have one more page in here of instructions. Otherwise, on all of my accounts, I have translation call instructions. We use a translation service. So if someone calls and they're speaking Spanish, we can contact them with a translator that helps the agent complete the message ticket and translates between the agent and the caller. And there are instructions to which number to call and the process to use to get that translator on the line. Patch instructions, it's amazing, and I'm sure many of you will agree, having an agent patch a call is sometimes the most breathtaking experience. So I have those instructions also included as a page on every account, because you never know where it's going to happen. Just like a translation call can happen on most any account. So these pages are available to the agents on every account. Client info, this is where you're going to see the beginnings of the layout for the FlexAI. So a few things to note here are the colors. All of the things in blue are pretty much standard items that are informational to the agent. You know, the client's name, address, phone numbers, office hours, that kind of stuff. The time zone. I put the time zones in green when they're Eastern time, and I manually change it to red when it's something other than Eastern. All of my agents are in Eastern, but we have clients that are in Central and Pacific and what have you, so I'll have that in red so it kind of stands out so they know that the client is in a different time zone. I'll even put up here 2 hours behind or 3 hours behind, just so they know. Even though it shows in the bottom right-hand corner of the FlexAI what time zone the client is in, I think it's handier to have it up a little bit higher so it's more in front of the agent. The next thing you'll notice here is this green. This is Randy's test account. This is where we put a quick description of what the business is. This is a real estate company. This is a plumbing company. This is a doctor's office. Tells the agent real quick, what kind of calls I should expect. In the middle here we have comments, and it might say something like office messages are okay. And what I'll do on these is, I like this color maroon, seems to look nice, and I'll make that bold so it stands out nice and big. And so this is something perhaps unique to this customer, that office messages are okay or don't take office messages ever, you never know. So whatever's unique about this client tends to be in burgundy in the middle there. Emergencies are always in red at the bottom, so they can scroll down and see if maybe this particular client only has 2 or 3 different things that qualify as an emergency. I can list them all right here. If they have a page of emergencies, then we make a separate page of MasterCard information for those emergencies. You'll notice about the only thing that's on here that isn't specifically client is client name. Everything else is field variable. That's the F variable. And the way you insert those, once you've created them over here on field variables, you click on this box right here and the drop down shows up, and let's bring this to the side, and you can see all the fields that are available. Most of them come from the client info page, but the rest of them are all field variables that I entered. And so when you choose one of these, that's what gets inserted into the message on the MasterCard on this layout. So just to see what this looks like in real life, let's go over to the FlexAI and bring up 9000. And you can see how my MasterCard fits right in here. I use these blue lines to kind of give a guide to the programmers if they're in here making changes or adding information. Oops, my comment didn't appear because I didn't save it. Yes, let's save changes. Now if I bring up 9000, there's my new comment about office messages are okay. This blue line serves as a guide so they don't type beyond it and start making this message form wrap funny. Notice that my message forms, I try to avoid scroll bars. So everything using the 3-second rule is right in front of the agent, so the scrolling up and down shouldn't be necessary. Sometimes it is, sometimes there's more than what I can fit in that space, but probably 90% of my accounts, they look just like this. The other thing is the consistency of the location. They know that the client name and address and phone number information is always right here at the top. Anything unique is in the middle. And at the bottom is the call forwarding number. It's amazing how many times the client calls and doesn't know what their forwarding number is. And also what time we send them their message summary in the morning and by what method, be it email or fax. Now the next thing for the agent to do is bring up a message form. So we click on this Add Message button, and I try to name my message forms so that they make sense to the agent. Again, trying to follow the 3-second rule. So when that caller calls in and says, hey, my pipe is leaking, or there's a flood, or there's a fire, or whatever, we know that's an emergency maintenance message that goes to the on-call person. If it's something minor, like my interior door is sticking, that's a non-ER message that can wait for the office. Or if it's someone calling about a business question or employment opportunities, that kind of thing, that would be an office message. So the agent can pick out from the selection of message form names the correct message to take. So say this is an ER message, it knows to automatically populate the on-call person into the to field. It also brings up the member instructions in the lower right-hand corner. Again, my message forms are all made to fit on one page with no scrolling. I think I maybe have 1 or 2 message forms where the agent has to scroll up and down. Otherwise, all the information they need to collect is right here. I think it's important to have all the information in front of the agent, because what happens is the caller is talking to the agent and saying, hey, I live at so-and-so, so-and-so, and my phone number is this. And sometimes it's out of sequence from what we have laid out here in the message form. And a good agent will bounce around this message form and populate it while the person is talking, and then simply fill in the blanks when they're done. Now, when they've completed the message form, all they have to do is press the Save button, and the script will kick in, and they're done. They F12 to end the call, and the script takes over. So that's just a very brief overview of how I'm using the MasterCards and the message forms. We'll talk about members in a separate video, and then we'll move on to the actual scripting in the final video for this short series on scripting. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. Thank you for your time. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the TASbiller channel. Thank you, and have a nice day.